To mark the 200th anniversary of the founding of the town of Greece, the Greece Historical Society presents a Bicentennial Snapshot. Each week we take a look at a particular aspect of Greece history. Today our topic is Paddy Hill. In 1878, Dr. Samuel Beach Bradley wrote in his journal, "A miniature Ireland grew up here, free from the annoyances and the oppression of the old country. Industry secured prosperity. It has been a saying that if there is a good farm for sale, there is an Irishman with the money to pay for it." The miniature Ireland he was referring to, of course, is what is still called today Paddy Hill. Between 1805 and 1830, the first stream of Irish immigrants came to Greece, some by way of Canada. They came from places such as County Fermanagh, Kings County, County Wicklow, and County Wexford. These immigrants were a relatively prosperous group of families who, quote, left Ireland decades before the potato famines of the 1840s forced millions of Irish from their impoverished homeland, end quote. Many of the men were skilled tradesmen such as stonemasons, mechanics, and coopers. What they sought was land, something they were prohibited from owning in their native country. Unlike later generations of immigrants, these Irish farmers were able to purchase tracts of fertile acreage and establish themselves quickly as prosperous landowners. By the second quarter of the century, orchards and grain crops crowned Paddy Hill, and the farms prospered. One of the first Irishmen to settle in the area was Felix Maguire. Born in County Fermanagh circa 1770, he arrived in Greece between 1805 and 1807. He was a leading Catholic layman in his day in Monroe County and a, quote, substantial figure in the history of the town of Greece, end quote. By 1810, he was elected as a pathmaster for the town of Northampton. The Catholic tradition in Rochester and in Greece is that Felix was the man who brought the first priest to the Rochester district to celebrate Mass in 1818. He was also a co-founder of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Rochester in 1823. Nicholas Reed was a contemporary of Felix Maguire. A prosperous, well-educated Irish immigrant, he took up residence in Greece circa 1823. Quote, already a man of substance, he purchased a considerable amount of acreage on the crest and slopes of the highest point in the town of Greece between Ridge Road and the lake, now called after him Mount Reed, end quote. Maps labeled the intersection with Latta Road Reed's Corners before it was ever called Paddy Hill. A civic and religious leader, Reed, quote, served as Justice of the Peace for over 20 years and for 3 years was one of the associate judges of the county. Many called him Judge Reed because of his judicial positions. He was more widely known as Squire Reed, end quote. The heart of the Irish community at Reed's Corner was their church, and Felix Maguire and Nicholas Reed were instrumental in its founding. Nicholas Reed donated the land for the church and cemetery. Principally through their efforts, a frame building was begun in 1829. It was named St. Ambrose Church, but was more commonly called the Church in the Woods, a name given to it by the local Native Americans. It was the first Catholic church built in any rural area in New York State. Diocesan historian Robert McNamara wrote, "The Irish were so numerous in the north part of Greece that for many years a long stretch of Latta Road on either side of Mount Reed was flanked by an unbroken line of Irish Catholic farms. It is no surprise that the mount came to be called Paddy Hill, but the Grecian Irish deeply resented this nickname, for Paddy was an ethnic slur. But it is the name that lingers to this day. Judge Reed was particularly active in fighting anti-Irish, anti-Catholicism sentiments. Peter Larkin was born circa 1809 in Ireland and emigrated to this country around the age of 30. He, along with his good friend Joseph Fleming, succeeded Felix Maguire and Squire Reed as leaders of the Irish community of Reed's Corners. Before coming to Greece, both men worked on a number of canal projects around New York State and in Canada. In addition to his farm, Peter was a prosperous property owner around what was known as Greece Center, the Latta Long Pond intersection, and where the Greece Town Hall campus is today. Peter was elected supervisor of the town 3 times, 1861, 1862, 1872, and 1876. His home is now a dentist office on Long Pond Road. We told you about Joseph Fleming and his home in Snapshot 32. Peter Larkin and Joseph Fleming recommended that a French priest, Father Jean-Louis Maurice, or Father John Maurice, as he anglicized his name, be made pastor of St. Ambrose, and he was appointed in 1856. When it came time to construct a new church to replace the 30-year-old wooden frame church in 1859, Larkin and Joseph Fleming were the general contractors, and Peter personally built the lintels and windows of the church. They donated their labor. Father Maurice renamed the church Our Mother of Sorrows, and he was pastor for 39 years until his death on Christmas Day, 1895, at the age of 83. This church continued to be the heart of the Irish community. A highlight in the history of this community and its church was the Centennial celebration in June 1930. 5,000 current and former parishioners attended the ceremony. Governor Franklin D. Roosevelt and his wife Eleanor were among the dignitaries helping to mark the anniversary. In 1968, it was replaced by a new church just south of the cemetery. The old church was leased to the town of Greece for the Paddy Hill Branch Library, quote, with the understanding that any inside adjustments necessary could be made, but that the old red brick Romanesque exterior should remain the same, end quote. The library closed circa 1999 with the opening of the new library on the Town Hall campus in 2000. Today, the building is owned by the Rochester Academy Charter School. Look at this 1902 map, and you can see that Reed's Corners is still surrounded by Irish family farms. Today, the Whelehan's Allendare Farm is the last of them on Latta Road. More about them in our next snapshot. Equally important to the community was its school, which was and is located across the street from Our Mother of Sorrows Church. The year after the town of Greece was established in 1822, a new local public school, District Number 5, was set up on the west side of the half intersection of Latta Road and the present Mount Read Boulevard. There has been a public elementary school at this intersection since 1839, either here or kitty corner from the church, making it the second oldest continuous location in the county. The Greece Historical Society received a grant from the William C. Pomeroy Foundation to install this historical marker. With the school and their church established in 1829, the community, quote, began to envision that intersection as the nucleus of a future village, end quote. But the commercial hubs developed in Charlotte and around the Dewey Latta and the Latta Long Pond intersections. Even today, the surrounding environs are predominantly residential. Very few of the early settlers around Paddy Hill chose to leave for other places. There were many marriages among the tightly knit family. One only has to walk the quiet paths of Our Mother of Sorrows Cemetery and read the names on the grave markers. McGuire, Reed, Larkin, Fleming, Rigney, Beamish, Burns, Whelehan, McShay, Slater, Goodwin, Gallery, and Hogan. A who's who of the early pioneers of the town. Many of the descendants of these families still reside in Greece. Thanks for joining us this week. Next week, our snapshot is about growing up on a Paddy Hill farm. This is Maureen Whalen, inviting you to join us next Tuesday for another Bicentennial Snapshot presented by the Greece Historical Society.
Want to learn more from the Greece Historical Society and Museum? Then click that subscribe button for more content and hit that bell icon to get notified when there's more Bicentennial Snapshots. You can visit us on the web at greecehistoricalsociety.org. You can find us on Facebook at Greece Historical Society. You can follow us on Twitter at GreeceNYHistory, and you can stop in at the Greece Historical Society at 595 Long Pond Road.